لا إله إلا هو إليه النشور. سيدنا على فطرة الإسلام وكلمة الإخلاص وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. اللهم إنا أمسينا منك في نعمة وعافية وستر، فأتم علينا نعمتك وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما أمسى بنا من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك، فلك الحمد ولك الشكر. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا. أحبتي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله جميعا، طبتم وطاب ممشاكم وتبوأتم من الجنة منزلا بإذن الله. ثم أما بعد, let's start. As you see here, the topic for tonight is Islamic Finance 101. And by the way, this presentation is not copyrighted, so inshallah I'll be more than happy to send a copy to Sheikh Ra'ad and some other materials, so you don't need to worry about taking notes. You can just get a copy from the presentation. As you see here is Islamic Finance 101, and you can break it down to 3 different components. Finance, we need to understand what does finance mean from an industrial perspective, and if you add Islamic to it, okay, how can you make it like more specific, geared toward the Islamic principles, and why I call it Islamic Finance 101. Let's start with the finance. When you hear that so-and-so individual works in the finance industry in the USA, finance, what does finance mean to start with? In each and every single society, we do have a certain number of individuals or groups who do have extra money and who are looking forward to give that money for others for a certain return. They are not happy with sleeping with the money. They want to make money from the money. So there is a kind of money supply. Now in return, certain individuals or groups or companies are looking for some funding because they are in need for the cash. Someone wants to establish a business, to upgrade the business, to build a house, to pay off a debt, to pay the tuition fees, whatever the reason might be. So there is a supply and there is a demand. There is a money supply and there is a demand. When that society is as big as United States of America, you're talking about literally millions of people who are looking for funding and millions of people who are willing to offer the fund or the extra fund that they have. In this case, we definitely need to have an intermediator, third-party platform, someone in between to facilitate that communication between the money suppliers and those who are looking for funding. And that's the exact job of the finance institute, whether it is a finance company or it is a mortgage company or it is a bank. A very technical term, you can break down the finance institute and finance industry. You can say that we do have fund mobilization, collecting, like the job of collecting fund from those who are willing to offer the fund for a certain return. And there is a fund utilization, redirecting that fund for those who are looking for funding, and the fund intermediation, which is the job of the third party or the finance institute. If you're talking a very classical, very riba-based, very capitalist-based economic and finance system, the job of the finance institute is to borrow the money, from those who are advancing fund for a certain return. They call it APR, annual percentage rate. Let's say, for example, that they take that money for 5% APR. They turn around and they give that money as an interest-bearing loan for those who are looking for fund for 9%. So they borrow for 5% and they lend it back for 9%. And they make 4% commission difference between the 5% and the 9%. That's their job. Each and every single institute here, the main, like the core business that they make money out of is just borrowing money for interest and lending money with interest. So again, there is a fund mobilization, a fund utilization, and a fund intermediation. Now, lending money and borrowing money actually is the regular activity of those banks or mortgage companies. They cannot make money from real estate. They cannot make money from metals or from gold for any regular business, right? It has to be either borrowing money or lending money. When it comes to the Islamic finance system, it's completely different. Maybe the outcome result is the same, or the job of the finance institute is the same, which is attracting or bringing fund from those who do have fund and giving the money to those who are looking for. But the mechanism and the way and the philosophy and the vision and the mission and the ethics to stand behind that practice, are completely different. Whenever you hear the term Islamic finance, well, first of all, we all actually believe that Islam, alhamdulillah, is a comprehensive way of life, covers all aspects, right? There is an ethical system, there is a ibadah system, there is a finance system, a military system, and so on and so on. Muslim family law, Islamic inheritance law. Alhamdulillah, it's nizamun shamil lil-hayah. It's a comprehensive way of life. One of those systems that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set, as well as His Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam, is the finance system, right? Which is, to govern or to manage the way or to put some guidelines where people can easily, financially communicate and transact, but without taking advantage of one another, while implementing justice, especially for those who attended the khutbah today. Just for my curiosity, who was here today for khutbah al-Jum'ah? So when you hear the term Islamic finance, it should come to your mind ultimate level of transparency and integrity. Every single individual, whether you are the one who's giving the fund or waiting for the fund, or even the finance institute like the intermediator, everyone has to maintain the highest level of transparency. There is no manipulation, there is no cheating, right? Everybody has to know from day one who is advancing the money, who's receiving the money, who is the active partner, who's a sleeping or the silent partner, who's supposed to give the money, what will happen if there is a profit, what will happen if there is a loss, what will happen if someone of the partners did not decide to continue. All these what ifs with S are to be incorporated in a contract that's clearly communicated with each and every single party. So no one would say down the road, oh, you know what, no one told me that I was supposed to be this amount. I did not know that my principal actually is not going to, I didn't know that my profit rate will be such and such. I mean, all these, I do not know, no one told me, should not exist when Islamic finance actually is genuinely implemented. Ethics and values are one of the very integral characteristics of Islamic finance. Okay, permissibility overrides feasibility. Permissibility overrides feasibility. What does that mean? It means that in the Islamic finance system, we didn't care about how profitable, how feasible, how much money we will be making from that potential business that we're sitting together to discuss and to get involved in, yarhamukumullah. As long as that business and that outcome result clearly stand against the principles and the ethics of the Muslim community. Anything that's related to gambling, adult entertainment, tobacco, anything that's pork product, anything that's explicitly haram is not even to be discussed. We cannot even sit down and discuss business because the outcome result actually stands against the principles and the ethics of the Muslim community. Even if you live outside the Muslim world, even if you live in the United States, it does not make any difference. You cannot get involved in any haram business, period. Commoditization and asset-backed means that in the same way that you care about your well-being, okay, and how much profit you are making, you should be selfless enough, considerable enough to pay attention to the well-being and the welfare of the community at large. Even if a certain business, just for discussion purposes, even if a certain business is a halal one, but it does not help the community flourishing, okay? You do not produce anything that is tangible, that is valuable, that is beneficial, usable, right? Halal, tayyib for the community, then you are not on the right track, right? Nowadays, there are a lot of so-called financial instruments in the stock market between derivatives and bonds and CDS and CDO and like different financial instruments in which they are not backed up by any commodity or merchandise or even a service. A certain piece of paper that you maintain valid by paying a premium to keep it valid is just making a connection between that piece of paper and a certain index or certain portfolio. If they make money, you lose, and if they lose money, you make profit. This is actually not the ethical way. Okay, I mean, you should not, you should not be so proud of yourself that you are making money because other people are losing money. This is not the ethical and the Islamic way of making money. So make sure that when you decide to invest, you invest in a real, actual business. Okay? I always say that real estate is the real business. Real estate is the real business, all the way down. Okay, whether you're flipping homes or you like buy, rental properties you construct from scratch, anything that's related to real estate is the real business that brings, really good profit, and most importantly, halal profit. Moving on, maybe one of the most important characteristics of this finance system is the ban or the prohibition of interest. And this actually was a part of the discussion today during Khutbatul Jum'ah. You cannot get involved in lending money with interest or borrowing money with interest. You cannot even help like documenting and writing down any interest-bearing transaction. You cannot even attend and witness that process. Every single individual who is directly involved in borrowing and lending money with interest actually is cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. لعن الله آكل الربا ومؤكله وكاتبه وشاهديه وقالهم سواء. Each and every single individual is facilitating, getting directly involved in borrowing or lending money with interest, actually is committing a major sin. I'm calling this presentation Islamic Finance 101 to make it clear that it's not a part of the scope of this presentation to dig in depth in too much trivial and tiny details. Okay, we should not get lost here. Just focus, zoom out and focus on the overall picture. If you are to go home after 1 hour from now and your wife or kids ask you a question, what does Islamic finance mean? You should be able to answer within just 30 seconds. If you do not answer, then you're missing the point, right? So that's why I'm calling it Islamic Finance 101. Do not get lost with those tiny details. Do not ask me, does Guidance Residential do a good job in their finance model? How about La Riba? How about Devon Bank? I mean, all these details are not Islamic Finance 101. If you are really interested in getting to know more about these companies, maybe you want to join Guidance College for Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. We have a wonderful program that we put together, fits perfectly fine for the need of the Muslim community in the USA, right? That's called Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. Go to guidancecollege.org and search for Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. So again, not to get involved in too much tiny details. I will inshallah open the floor after I finish for. You have a question maybe? That's a good question. There is no worldly punishment involved here, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually is warning those people that they are waging a war, or they are actually causing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to wage a war against them. And we know very well, if you are to stand against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in actual real war, who's going to win and who's going to lose. Interestingly, in the whole Quran, there is no sin where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning those who are getting involved in with harb, with war from Him, except for committing riba. Jazakallah khair, that's a very good question. Okay, we say riba is haram, okay? Sometimes you get confused between riba and interest and usury. Some people actually do have differentiation between usury as riba or interest. From an Islamic finance perspective, to my knowledge, there is no difference. You want to call it usury, call it riba, call it interest, actually just copy and paste. It is the same. Now, when it comes to the definition of riba, that is something important that we need to pay attention to. Sometimes you go to those classical books and read, you go to Kitab al-Riba, chapter of Riba, and you start educating yourself. You come across examples that are really confusing, right? Exchanging barley for wheat and apple for orange and rice for sugar, right? Or bad quality date with a good quality date, with equality with inequality. And you read those big scary terms, riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasi'a, riba al-yad, riba al-jahiliya. You get so confused and you start scratching your head. I mean, is this the riba that we Muslims are facing in this society here? The answer is no. All these examples are correct. Do not get me wrong. They are absolutely valid and correct, but they are very irrelevant examples to our daily life. Muslims in the USA in 2025 do not exchange barley for wheat or sugar for rice or apple for orange, right? If you want to make an order, just grab your phone. Where is my phone? You just go to that Instacart, you make an order, use your debit card, credit card, sometimes even use your cryptocurrency. 1 or 2 hours, you will find the order delivered in front of your house. So what kind of riba we are referring to? Okay, from now on, whenever I say riba or I say interest, I refer to this very particular category of interest, okay, in which its prohibition is, number one, agreed upon, whether you're a Hanafi or a Shafi'i or a Maliki or a Hanbali, or you follow Ahl al-Hadith, you follow whatever you want, that the prohibition is something that's agreed upon, number one. And number two, this is actually the most severe category of interest. Yes, we do have riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasiya, but this is actually the most severe one. Number three, this is the only riba that's mentioned clearly in the Quran. So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the term riba, الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم, okay, اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا. Any term riba in the Quran refers to this very particular category. So forget about those scary big names, right? And just from now on, remember this definition. When I say riba, I mean the premium, the extra money, the premium, that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension in its maturity. And for simplicity purposes, you can just skip, or for the extension in its maturity, and just focus on the rest of the definition. Look at the definition one more time. The premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. How many categories of money we have here? We have two. We have the principal and we have the premium, right? And how many parties, yarhamukumullah, and how many parties we have here? We have two different parties, right? We have the borrower and we have a lender. And you can easily tell from the definition of riba that there is no partnership here. There is no silent partnership. There is no permanent partnership. There is no limited partnership. In other words, the financier actually once handles the money to you, okay, he or she tells you, like directly or indirectly, you are by your own. Here is the money, do whatever you want. You come back next year with the principal and with the annual percentage rate that is agreed upon. So borrower and lender, principal and premium, right? And there is no partnership, there is no liability. Very simple example that I mentioned today in the khutbah. You go to Bank of America, they call it Bank of America, okay, or Chase or Capital One or give me more names, huh? Wells Fargo, thank you, right? You apply for $100,000 loan, business loan, investment loan, personal loan, construction loan, student loan. You pick and choose whatever you want. Once you are approved for 5% APR, annual percentage rate, and that money actually is released, is given to you, you are literally by your own. You take that money for business purposes. You make a profit, you break even, you lose money, you go bankrupt, okay, you lose your life, you skip the country, you pass out, the bank does not care about you. Do whatever you want, okay? The only thing they understand is that within 1 year, you have to pay us $100,000 principal plus $5,000 interest, right? We do not care about what you do. That like model of financing in a very technical term is called the risk-shifting finance. Risk-shifting finance means that the bank is not sharing any liability or risk with you, right? Someone might say, oh, hold on, no, the bank actually is taking risk, okay? The default risk, the possibility of the borrower, right? Just, denying the loan, procrastinating, passing away, going, bankrupt, that's absolutely correct. But that kind of risk is not meant here, because that kind of risk actually is a shared risk, even in the Islamic finance system. If I'm to give you $10,000, qardun hasan, right, interest-free loan, always there is a possibility that, la samahalla, something might happen, and you might, I might not get back, like paid back or paid off that loan. So this is not the risk that I'm referring to. I'm referring to the outcome result of the loan itself. What happened to that business? Did you make profit? Did you break even? Did you incur loss. The bank literally does not care about the outcome result of the loan, and that makes it a risk-shifting finance. The bank actually shifting all the liability, putting it on your shoulder. Bank is sitting, relaxing like me, like this, waiting for the principal and for the premium on top of it to be paid back, right? So that is the risk-shifting one. It obviously shows that there is no partnership, there is no risk taken by the bank. Maybe you can sense from now why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is prohibiting interest. Moving on, the challenge that we face in this society, to my very humble experience, it's not whether or not riba is haram. Everybody knows that riba is haram. Even our non-Muslim, like fellow Americans, know that practicing Muslims do not get involved with riba. They do not lend money with riba. They do not borrow money with riba. I don't think the challenge is to identify or to understand the concept of riba, because it's clear here. It is the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. Maybe I did not explain as a condition for the loan. Condition for the loan means that if you do not agree from the beginning to pay that interest, then you cannot move on with the loan. In other words, interest here actually is unavoidable. If you get approved for $100,000 and you try to negotiate a deal with the loan officer, you tell him, you know what, I'm a practicing Muslim, I do not pay interest. Do you think I can take the $100,000 for free, like for 1 or 2 years? What his answer will be? Go back to your masjid to Sheikh Rad and let him, give you money for free. We are not a charity organization. We are making money here. So if you are not willing to commit yourself to pay the interest, from the beginning, and just sign that yes, I will be paying the 5% APR, then you are by your own. So it's not the definition of riba. It's not the status of riba. In my opinion, it is the contradiction, if you wish, between what we read in the classical books and what we face in the real life. In the classical book, especially if you are not a student of knowledge, like a professional student of knowledge, again, you get lost, you get confused. Riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, barley, wheat, and date fruit for date fruit, ghinab for apple, orange for rice, and you start again, scratching your head. Riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasiya. But in the real life, you come across like several payments or several charges. Sometimes you find yourself in a position where you charge other people, or you might be charged by other people, right? And you come across something called, for example, penalty clause. If there is like a construction, like you sign an agreement with the home builder, right? If he or she does not submit on time, you charge him what's called the penalty clause, like $200 a day for the deferment or for the delay. Would that $200 a day, for example, be counted as riba or not? Overdraft charge. You overdraft your debit card, and you find yourself actually, in a position where you have to pay the bank, for example, whatever you have taken plus certain money. They do not introduce it to you as an interest. They call it overdraft charge. Is the overdraft charge riba or not? How about late fees? Each and every utility bill you receive does have a due date. What will happen if you pass the due date, without paying? What will happen? You have to pay a late fees. Is the late fees riba or it is otherwise? Dividend, if you have any business to do in the stock market, you receive dividend. Profit, commission, interest, cashback. Is it true that whenever the term interest used means the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited? Or maybe otherwise? Well, I'll give you an example. Last year, actually, I received an offer from Regions Bank. It's a regional bank here. He told me, listen, if you open a checking account with us, we'll give you free, like $400 free. We're gonna deposit $400 in your account. And I love money, as you know, right? I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I opened a checking account, and they deposited $400 in my account. To my surprise, toward the end of the year, they sent me 1099, like tax form, $400 interest, right? So they call those $400 interest. Do you think that whatever they deposit as a gift for me will be counted as interest that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited? We need to sit down and just discuss. Okay? Based on the definition of riba, we need to find out, okay, is it true that every single term interest in any contract means the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited or not? So that's interest, cash back, like when you use your credit card and you receive some cash back, fine, kind of gharama maliyya, compensation, honorarium, service fees, equity, shares, and actually the list goes on and on. Here is actually the genesis of the problem. Here is the confusion, right? You read something, riba al-fadl al-nasa, rice for sugar and barley for wheat, right? And you get confused, as opposed to those actual real transactions, okay, that you come across sometimes on daily basis. Where to go from here and how to understand, okay? We said several times that when someone gives money to others where the principal is guaranteed, okay, and the premium on top of the principal is guaranteed, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, okay? Sometimes actually we do not mean to practice riba, but we do, okay? There's like a very, very common mistake back home in Jordan. Sometimes like a financier, like someone wealthy individual, might approach a businessman, car dealer for example, giving him $100,000 or Jordanian dinar, okay, telling him, listen, we are partners, and my position is sharik mdarib. Have you heard this term? Sharik mdarib. Here is $100,000, do whatever you want in your business, car dealership, but I should be entitled for $500 every single month. That is my share in the profit. You take it or you leave it. And the other partner will say, yes, sure, why not? We are partners. Well, is this a partnership? When you advance money, okay, and you stipulate clearly that like within 2 or 3 or 5 years, my principal has to be paid back. Not only that, every single month you pay me $500 profit. What if there was no profit at that month? Based on what you mandate the other party to pay you $500. What if the net profit for that month was only $500? Why you take everything and you leave him like without profit? So the principal is guaranteed, the return on top of the principal is guaranteed. That's the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. It's very simple. It's not a rocket science. If you come across any business opportunity, any potential partnership, any contract, okay, where someone is giving money to somebody else, and the principal is guaranteed, like the recipient of the money has to pay back the principal and has to pay back certain amount of money on top of it. Bear in mind, this Islamic finance one will forget about the simple interest as a compound interest, monthly payment one time. We don't care about details. Just the principal and premium on top of the principal. So someone is giving money, asking the recipient to pay back the principal and to pay back a premium on top of the principal. Okay? While the advancer or the financier, call him whatever you want, or the lender or the partner, we don't care about names, okay, is not taking any risk, any liability, okay? He is entitled to the principal to be paid back and to premium on top of it to be paid back regardless of the outcome result of the business. That is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. So from now on, our job is to scrutinize or to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions and find out if someone is giving money, asking for the principal to be guaranteed, and the return on top of the principal to be guaranteed, that's the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Whether it is introduced to you as riba or otherwise, we don't care about the names, we care about the reality and the actuality of the deal. Here is a well-established legal maxim, قاعدة فقهية. It goes العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions is the essence and reality, not the wording or the formality. We don't care about the names that you use. We care about the actual contract that you sign and you get involved in, right? Quick exit. Some of those like so-called Islamic mortgage companies in the USA, they try to impress the community, whenever they do a presentation, trying to show you or to persuade you that they understand Islamic finance very well. So they use those like big scary terms, ملك العين واستثناء الرقبة وإجارة ومشاركة ومرابحة. So everybody would say, wow, those people like know Islamic finance. Well, with all due respect, most of them do not know what are they talking about. Okay? And I can make a case here. Just grab their contract, okay, and read. You offer me musharaka. Musharaka means partnership. If you are my partner, then you should be responsible proportionally for your share of the expenses when there is a maintenance or tax or insurance. In the same way that you charge money every month, you should like when it comes to paying money, you should like pitch in and just take care of your portion, right? Well, they say no, we don't care about the expenses. That's your property, you take care of it. Okay. How about the tax? Oh, you live in that property, so you pay tax. Okay. How about insurance? Well, you live there, so you are the beneficiary, so you just take care. Well, what kind of partnership you are referring to? What kind of partnership? If you check their contracts, you easily can tell that they are giving you money where the principal is semi-guaranteed, okay, and the return on top of it is a semi-guaranteed. What kind of difference between your model, your musharaka or mudaraba or whatever, those big terms that you use, and the conventional mortgage that I might just apply for Bank of America or for Chase and get some better deal even, right? So we don't care about the names. Okay, this is musharaka or mudaraba. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. If you claim that you practice murabaha, for example, then you have to show me that you own the property, you purchase the property, you become the legal owner, right? And then instead of lending me money, you sell me, like you buy it, a spot sale, they call it, and you sell it back, credit sale. You just mark it up with whatever profit you feel comfortable with. Moving on, let's take some examples here to show you how easy it is actually to discover those interest-bearing transactions in the USA. Let me start with a very simple example, which is the saving account. Okay, let me put you in this spot. If you think that opening a saving account is halal, is a Sharia compliant option, you just go to Bank of America, Chase, and open a saving account. If you think that saving account is halal, raise your hand. Halal. If you think opening a saving account is haram, not halal, raise your hand. Some brothers actually are just very neutral. They did not raise their hand. So okay. Just what if I have $100,000 cash? And I told Sheikh Rad, to put you in this spot, here is 100,000, do whatever you want. No, I'm not done yet. And you pay me back 105 by the end of 2026. What do you call this deal? Interest-bearing loan, right? Here is the money, do whatever you want, principal is guaranteed, return is guaranteed. That is an interest-bearing loan. Okay, just a few hours before giving the sheikh the money, I changed my mind. I went to Bank of America and opened a saving account, okay, either online or in person. Okay, and based on the deal that I signed with them, they have to pay me, and instead of giving the sheikh the money, I just deposited $100,000 in Bank of America. And they have to pay me by the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, they have to pay me 105 by the end of 2026. What is the difference between scenario A and scenario B? It's just copy and paste. It is the same. So believe it or not, when you open a saving account, you are lending your money to the bank. You are lending your money to the bank. Someone would say, oh, hold on. Do you want to tell me that you, the one who has only $100,000, is lending your money to Bank of America who has thousands of millions of dollars? My answer is yes. We don't care about who has more and who has less. We just said, العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions is the essence and reality, not the wording or the formality. When I advance the money, when I give the money to Bank of America, and they guarantee the principal, they guarantee the return on top of it, that is none but interest-bearing transaction, in which you play the role of the lender, and they are the borrower. So saving account actually is not an option. Saving account is not an option. Oh, I do have a saving account, but actually I made it clear. I asked the bank not to pay me interest. Well, you are even like doing a worse job. Like you support the banking system and you volunteer, like you waive that money, you give your money for free to the bank to conduct more and more like interest-bearing activities. You are like committing even like a double sin, not only one sin. Okay? No, actually I do have a plan to dispose the money. Okay, whatever interest actually is generated there, I just give it to the needy individuals or just put it in the masjid, whatever. You are even making it worse and worse because the damage is already there. We are not here to discuss, how much riba you gain. You are here to discuss whether what you are doing is haram or halal. Once you open a saving account, the system automatically generates interest. How to handle that interest, that's completely irrelevant discussion because the damage is already there. So you cannot open a saving account, period. What is the alternative? That's completely different discussion. Overdraft charge. Overdraft charge. Is it haram or halal? Overdraft charge. What does mean overdraft charge? Let's say that you have $500 available balance in your checking account, and your checking account is connected with your debit card. You stopped by a point of sale, you made a transaction for $700, while you have how much? 500. Fortunately or unfortunately, the transaction went through. So you purchased an item for 700 while you have only 500. Few days later, you just checked your online balance. You found out that you have to pay the bank $200 plus something called overdraft charge, $35, $40. It's not riba, it's not interest, it's overdraft charge. Let's just pause here and try to unlock the secret of this transaction. What's going on here? When you have 500 available, halal money that you deposit in your checking account, and you purchase an item for $700, it means that, okay, and the transaction actually goes through, it means that you are borrowing $200 from the bank. Am I correct? Unless you think that the bank is giving you the $200 like مشان سواد عيونك يعني something for free. It's not. Well, how to say it in English? مشان سواد عيونك. Like for the blackness of your eyes, right? So, what's that? For the beauty of your eyes. Yeah, حلوة. جزاك الله خير. So, if you are to pay back only $200, then we do not have any concern. You borrowed 200 and you paid it back 200. The problem here is that you have to pay more than 200. So the bank actually is lending you 200 and you paid back, in our example, $235. Well, believe it or not, the default rule here, unless otherwise proven, default rule is that overdraft charge actually is riba. Otherwise could be proven. The banker would say, no, hold on, okay? This is a very irregular transaction. Our customer does not have money. So we have to process $200 from somewhere else, and we have to go after him and collect that $200 because of the extra work that we have done. We deserve $35, and that's a very good argument, by the way. Okay, it could be a correct one, but the default rule here is that anything that you pay as an overdraft charge is an interest, okay, unless otherwise proven, and otherwise could be proven. One more example is the home mortgage. Home mortgage. Do you think that a traditional classical home mortgage process in the US, is it haram or halal? If you think it's halal, raise your hand. طيب. If you think it's not halal, please raise your hand. Thank you. طيب. And we still actually have some neutral brothers, absolutely neutral. Did you raise your hand? Okay, I'll explain, inshallah. When you get involved in mortgaging a house, okay, you are conducting 3 simultaneous transactions. There is a sale agreement where you purchase the house for $500,000 from the landlord. And of course, you don't have $500,000 cash to pay, right? So you apply for a mortgage. And once your application is approved, the mortgage company would pay $500,000 on your behalf to the landlord, and you have to pay them back $700,000 for example, within the next 30 years. In order for the mortgage company to secure their fund, they put a lien on the property, they mortgage the property. So the sale agreement actually is halal. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. The Rahan agreement, in a sense that the lender in general, does have the right to ask for a secured loan or collateralized loan, ask for a security, okay, or a collateral to make sure that if something happened to you, if you walk away, if you pass away, if something happened, they can just go after you and get their money by foreclosing the property, right? Like when they put a lien on the property, they get the right to foreclose the property. Very technical term here. When you purchase a house or mortgage a house, you have what's called an equitable title, right? Equitable title, as opposed to the legal title. Legal ownership is for the mortgage company. Equitable ownership is yours until you pay off the principal and the interest on top of it. So the sale agreement actually is halal, and the mortgage agreement, believe it or not, in a sense that the lender does have the right to ask for security, is a halal. It is halal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِن كُنتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضًا. الرهان actually is a rahan. Rahan is the mortgage, right? You do have the right as a lender to ask for a security. Someone asks you for $100 loan, and you do not know him well, okay? So you ask him for a collateral. Give me your watch, give me your phone. I'm going to keep it with me until you come back and pay me. Okay? Whenever you pay me the principal, the 100, I will just give you back the pawn shop business in the US, right? With some difference because they charge interest. So the rahan actually is halal, right? And the sale agreement is halal. The problem that we have is with the loan agreement, okay, where you borrow $500,000 in our example, that you have to pay it back how much? $700,000. Some people think that, the bank or the mortgage company is the owner of the property. No, absolutely no. The bank or the mortgage company actually is the lien holder. You are the owner. Even if they have what is called the legal ownership, and you have the equitable ownership, from an Islamic perspective, we do not believe in this classification, by the way. You are the owner of the house from day one, but you owe the outstanding balance to the bank. طيب. So we ended up having two halal transactions, okay, as opposed to one haram transaction. Okay, in a very democratic society, we just go with the majority. Two halal against one haram should be good to go. Is that the case with Islamic finance? Unfortunately, no. Once it is proven that a certain segment in the deal is explicitly haram, that segment, that part of the transaction, is way more than enough to ruin the whole deal and to make it a haram, right? So the classical, traditional, conventional mortgage process in the USA is not a halal option. I have a lot of materials to cover, and we are like running out of time. So let me just pause here and open the floor for maybe ماشي الشيخ رعد كفي. We can do part 2 maybe later on. But honestly, I have a lot of materials to share with you, and I do not want to rush things. So let me just pause here and take some questions, and inshallah we should be good to go. So the floor is yours. Maybe you can kindly limit yourself to only one question, right? And make sure it is a question. It's not like your life story. You tell me that, back in 1977 when I came to the USA, you just go all the way to the question.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I have a quick question. As much as we hate it, as much as haram and everything else, we see that riba still works. I mean, and it's easy, and it allows people to get things they can't afford and so on and so forth. And, even though it has many evils, it still seems to be easy and for the most part works. So I guess my question is, okay, it's haram, it's forbidden. What is the alternative that's available to us? I mean, why do we not have an alternative available which is halal, so we can, get our plumbing fixed in our house or buy a car or anything like that? There does not seem to be a easy alternative, and that's my question.
Is that problem like exclusively in the USA, or even if you go back to any so-called Muslim country, you'll
I don't
find the
know
same,
about how
the same
it works
problem.
in Muslim countries, but I mean just here,
Well,
I mean there may be a
the
few
unfortunate reality
institutes,
here is that the capitalist, the riba-based economic and finance system actually is a global one. It's dominating, almost like the whole world. So even if you go back to what is so called nowadays like the Muslim world, believe it or not, the finance system is not purely Islamic, right? They might have some lenience toward Islamic finance, relaxing the rules a little bit, but the whole system, like from the Federal Reserve all the way down, is not an Islamic one. So creating a very functional, very authentic Islamic finance system within the non-Islamic one is close to impossible. And I want to be honest with you. There is a clear incompatibility, if you wish, between the two. I'll give you a very quick example. Okay, to practice like traditional mortgage, I just mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, as a bank or mortgage company, you cannot make money from real estate. Your job is to lend money for interest, period. Okay, if you want to do it the Islamic way, okay, you cannot lend money with interest, because in the Islamic finance system, loan is not a mode of finance. Loan actually is an act of charity, act of cooperation, act of sadaqah, devotion. In fact, Prophet ﷺ told us that if you lend your money twice, qardun hasan, like good loan, interest-free loan, you will be treated in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you have donated that money. So loan actually is not a mode of finance. You need to make sure as a finance institute that you purchase the property, you close on it, you become the legal owner before you sell it back with whatever markup. If you want to do ijara, lease to own, you have to act as the actual real, lessor or the landlord by purchasing the property and being responsible for the well-being of the property throughout the whole 30 years, lease contract. You want to do musharaka, declining partnership, you have to own the property jointly with the other party. You see? So in the classical finance system, you cannot own. In the Islamic one, you have to own before you proceed with financing that property. You see here the clear contradiction and the severe incompatibility between the two. So my answer is that unless we declare our financial independence by establishing like a parallel organization based on Islamic finance principles, we cannot go forward. We cannot. We do have some attempts here or there. Unfortunately, when it comes to mortgage in particular, the vast majority, 99% of those so-called Islamic mortgage companies are just a part of the finance system. They securitize those contracts, they sell them next day in the morning to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So they say yes, sir, for all the commands that declared upon them from Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. We cannot practice Islamic finance unless we step aside and we establish our own organizations. Well, believe it or not, it's doable. The same rigid system, right? The mortgage. You know that like mortgages is a highly regulated industry in the USA. But if you step aside, if you stay away from Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and the secondary market, tell them, thank you so much, I do have my own resources. The system itself actually gives you a lot of flexibility. I've been doing consultation for several small size companies. They do practice, musharaka and ijara in a perfect way. You see? So the real, genuine, long-term solution is to declare your independence as a Muslim community. Put our resources together, and subhanAllah, my experience, we have hundreds, if not even wallahi, thousands, if millions of dollars owned by the Muslim scattered all over the country. What we need nowadays is to have a vision and to have a mission. We said, no, enough is enough. We want to put our resources together. We want to establish our own finance system. And the system actually does allow you to do so, right? That is the hard solution, the long-term solution, but this is the only way where you can practice Islamic finance the way that you want, not the way that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae want. Wallahi, I'm very optimistic. I see the progress. I've been doing consultation like since 2020 until today. We have Sheikh Ibrahim here, actually one of our students at guidance counselor. Sometimes he helped me going through some contracts. I see, alhamdulillah, the progress. I see that Muslims are now understanding the system very well, and they are willing to stand and to challenge. We are not here to disrupt the finance system. We're here to establish a parallel one, fits for our ethical and religious needs. No. Sorry but this is like the unfortunate reality.
Yeah, well, Allah Alam, there's for his question, and let me know if this is right or not, there's a very simple halal non-financial solution to it, which is close to charity. He talked about it. So basically someone is needing money, someone else could give him a halal personal loan. And that loan would be something that is half as good as charity. And that's something that's not for financial benefit. It's actually the opposite. In the dunya perspective, you're risking your money and you're not going to get any benefit whatsoever. But in the akhirah, you get huge reward. And that's the answer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. If you want if someone is in need, then as Muslims we need to help them and we need to support them, and we get rewarded for that. Of course, it's not the financial solution. It's a different story.
No, this is like on the long run. It's not a practical solution. I will give you an actual, real example. I did actually a consultation for something called Ma'oon Credit Union. It's a Sharia compliant, New Jersey-based credit union. Okay, they do not do Islamic finance. They do only interest-free loan. Like they bring money from lenders and they give small loans between $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000 to purchase maybe like a car, or to pay tuition fees, or to pay for some necessities. Okay, I gave them like my fatwa that your business is halal, but I gave them a very sincere advice. I told the brother in charge, listen, akhi, on the long run, the system actually does not work. Yani why should I? Okay, if I have $100,000. Why should I give you $100,000 as a credit union to give it as qardun hasan for others to fulfill their financial need, and to pay me back after 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years $100,000? I'm not making money. I'm just freezing that money. In fact, I'm losing money because of the inflation. Like if the purchase power today is 100,000, after 5 years the purchase power will go down to $80,000. So on the long run, I'm losing money. يعني I might do it once, I might do it twice, بس يعني كان صاحبك عسل ما تلحسوش كله يعني as we say, right? So this is not I need to be honest with you. This is not a practical solution. Loan is to be given for charity purposes. If I do have that 100,000 and someone is in desperate need to pay like for the tuition fees, or to do like a surgery, or to pay for the rent of his apartment, I'll be more than happy to give him money, because I anticipate none but the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if that individual wants my $100,000 for business purposes, he does have car dealership, and I see him making money, why should I give him $100,000 for 3 or 4 years to make money, and then to come back to me with a big hug? Oh, Sheikh, Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. Here is your money. Seriously? You make money from my money, and then you pay me the principal with no. Well, if you want my money for business purpose, let's sit down and talk business. Why you want the money? You want it to upgrade your business? We can do mudaraba. You see, we can do trustee partnership. I give you the money, not as a loan, as an investment. I'll be the silent investor, or a sleeping partner, limited partner. I just go home. You do whatever you want with the money within that car business, car dealership. When there is a profit, I should be entitled for a certain percentage of the net profit, not the principal, net profit of the amount that I gave you. If there is no profit, I take my principal and just go home, ma'as-salam. If there is a loss, and it's proven there was nothing wrong from your end, believe it or not, I cannot go after you and ask for the principal. That's called the risk-sharing model, as opposed to risk-shifting one, remember? Like the classical one is a risk-shifting one. The Islamic one is a risk-sharing one. And I will be entitled to some profit if there is a profit. Before I forget, before you leave, make sure that you take a copy of this brochure. do not get scared. It's not a bridge form. We're not asking for donation. Just this is informational one. Just read more about Guidance College. We do have a lot of programs. If you can be a degree student, that will be excellent. It's purely online. Alhamdulillah, we have a small office here in Houston, but it's purely online. It is fully accredited in United Kingdom by one of the most prestigious accreditation bodies called ASIC, A-C-I-K. We are diligently working to get the school accredited by Middle State Commission of Higher Education, one of the gatekeepers of the Department of Education. Guidance College is a weekend and an evening university. So all the classes are offered from 5 or 6 p.m. on, fully accredited. Inshallah, we'll get the school accredited. And the tuition fees are very, very nominal to the minimum. We do have on top of that in-house financial aid for those who cannot afford paying the tuition fees. So make sure that you educate yourself about the college. And here's my business card if you have any question related to Guidance College. If it is Islamic finance, maybe you can call Amja Fatwa hotline. I can take a few more questions. Sheikh Radi, you want to manage the question and answer?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A simple question, يعني inshallah simple. Banks, what's يعني instead of we can't put our money يعني have it cash all the time, and and it's kind of inconvenient these days. And putting the money with Chase, Wells Fargo, يعني these people support يعني.
It depends, Habibna, on the reason behind opening a saving account. If you have a big chunk of money,
not saving, and just putting money in anywhere other than cash. And
you can open a checking account, like free of interest, free of charge, checking account to save the money.
Yeah, because يعني Chase, you know, is مقاطعين Chase, Wells Fargo,
Well,
and they support.
Because of the public need, Habibna, يعني we cannot keep a big amount of money at home. It's not safe. And to facilitate your daily transaction, you have to have a checking account. So you can open a checking account, okay, now until we have an Islamic alternative. Make sure it is free of charge, free of interest checking account. Nowadays, if you open checking account with Chase, like a person one, they charge you, I think, $12 or $15 a month, which is fine. Yeah. But make sure it is an interest-free checking account, because some checking accounts, they are interest-bearing ones, right? Money market account is an interest-bearing one. So make sure that you keep it to the minimum. And you cannot function here in the society financially without having a checking account. Go ahead and open checking account, but do not make it saving account. Now, if the reason behind behind the question is that you are losing money, okay, that's why you want to open a saving account. Well, you can open a mutual fund account, simple investment, like a brokerage account, and make some halal money. You can invest in gold nowadays. No. Well, you have to. Well, I mean, this is unavoidable problem. I mean, this is the unfortunate reality that we have to deal with banks. So you have to have a checking account at least. Yeah. But for investment or to set off the inflation and the 2.5% zakat al-mal, you can invest your money in a halal way. Alhamdulillah, we have a lot of options, either directly or indirectly, like through partnering with others, and you know. طيب, can take.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, from your discussion, you said, I want to ask about mortgage, because you said the Islamic financing, it's almost the same with the conventional financing. So how do we deal with this as a Muslim? Because sometimes mortgage is very important, we have to get it. So do we just stay off, or how do we deal with it?
Yeah, we do have some new attempts. One of them actually is this one, Edifice X. Let me just open it. Can you see the screen? No, what I can go to. Oh. افتح يا سمسم. This is a brand new attempt called Edifice X. Bismillah. This is a tokenization blockchain platform. It's not a mortgage company, just a platform that brings home buyers and home sellers together based on blockchain and tokenization. This is 100% Sharia. I'm one of the co-founders of this company. Okay, the advantage of it actually is that we do not deal with the secondary market. Okay, the model actually is called the crowdfunding, where we open the floor for small investors, $50, $100 to, we tokenize the rest of the house, and we make it available for people to purchase. And you start making money from the rent, from the lease revenue when someone purchases the house. You know what? Let me just show you this video. It's only 1 minute. Give me this one second. Is it muted? Sorry. I don't know how to unmute it, sorry. Even when it comes to those so-called Islamic mortgage companies, they are not in the same level of Sharia compliance, to be honest. And some of them operate as banks, and some of them operate as an investment company. Guidance Residential in particular is way more advanced than others, according to our fiqh council to AMJA. Their mode of finance is reasonable enough, because they operate as an investment company. They purchase the property, they take the liability of losing money in certain scenarios. So their overall model actually is, I would say, reasonable enough. No.
السلام عليكم شيخ.
السلام
معا. الله يفتح عليك يا شيخ. سؤال about leasing a car. You lease a car and you make payment every month. At the end of the day, you turn the car. What's your comment on that? The money you give for leasing the car, does it have anything?
Is it like lease to own? Like you go to a car dealership and you sign a lease agreement?
No, just to lease.
Well, the only two contracts who are subject to riba in the Islamic finance system are either the loan agreement or the sale agreement. يعني العقود الربوية في شريعتنا إما عقد القرض أو عقد البيع. So if the agreement that you sign is just a lease agreement, it's not even a usurious or subject to riba to start with. So why you think that this deal might be haram? Can you educate me more? Why you think it's haram? Why you ask the question to start with?
Because at the end of the day, you just return the car. So
Yeah, which is fine. Like you rent the car, you use it, you pay for that rent, and you bring it. Well, whenever you lease a car, you have three different options. You either purchase the car based on the residual value, and you agree to that in the beginning. They specify the price ahead of time, or you can return the car, or you can
lease to buy.
No, you can replace it, like you return it and get a new car. And all these options actually are halal, because basically the agreement is not a sale agreement. You are not buying and you are not borrowing money. So there is no loan agreement and there is no sale agreement. So the deal should be sound and good.
So basically it's like renting an apartment, right?
It's like renting an apartment. They give you some promotion like free oil change for maintenance, مش عارف tire rotation, which is fine. عرفت يعني خدمة ما بعد الاستئجار يعني. It should be fine.
Okay. جزاك الله خير شيخ.
Sheikh, you manage the time. What time you want us to finish? 10 minutes?
Assalamu alaikum. Just for the banks, even if the bank for the saving account, it has to be with interest, and then I just tell them no, I don't want the interest, is it still would be haram even if it's checking?
It's still haram, حبيبي, because opening a saving account is prohibited for itself by itself.
Checking,
يعني-
I'm talking checking.
Checking account?
Yes, but
No,
these-
you pick and choose an interest-free checking account.
yeah, like the option is not there, but I want to stick with the bank, so I just tell them I don't want that
No, no, no.
interest.
The option should be there. Like we do have some interest-free checking accounts, an interest-bearing checking account. You pick and choose the interest-free checking account, not the interest-bearing checking account. It's there. It is available.
Okay, I'll double
No.
check. Exactly.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I know you haven't covered that topic yet, but regarding the 401k and mutual funds, do we have anything that is considered haram as far as the contributions to 401k, or even if you want to do investment and buy mutual funds, are we limited to, because we are limited with the funds that the 401k provides, and as far as personal investment, having your brokerage account. We hear about amana and some of the other options, but in some instances they say that okay, it's haram even for those. Can you expound on that?
هو حبيبنا يعني before answering your question, again we have to look at the whole picture. Having a 401k or pension plan or any kind of aside investment should be actually a part of your financial planning and financial stability in this society. And you as a bread maker, as they say, you have to make sure that you strive for financial stability and sustainability for yourself and for your family members. Allah forbids, after long life, whenever you pass. And if you look for that financial stability and you strive for it, okay, you are not doing anything wrong. I mean, in fact, this is actually a part of your deen. It's a kind of devotion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِنَّكَ أَن تَذَرَ وَرَثَتَكَ أَغْنِيَاءَ. Okay, there was a story behind it. One of the Sahaba, the name of Sa'd radiallahu anhu, he was about to pass, leaving behind only his daughter, I think, and his wife. So he wanted to bequeath, like a good person. Bequeath actually is to donate money after your death to non-inheritors. So he wanted to donate after his death, like to bequeath 2/3 of his wealth. Prophet ﷺ said, no, that's too much. How about 1/2? He said, no, 1/2 is too much. How about 1/3? قال الثلث والثلث كثير. 1/3 and even 1/3 is too much. And then he said, he justified his fatwa عليه الصلاة والسلام by saying, إنك أن تذر ورثتك أغنياء خير من أن تذرهم عالة يتكففون الناس. Leaving your legal heirs financially stable, right, is way better than leaving them needy, begging people, right? He said in the other hadith, اليد العليا خير من اليد السفلى. The upper hand is way better than the lower hand. So by having 401k or pension plan or any kind of aside investment, IRA, whatever, that's a part of the financial stability that you have to provide. You have to strive to have it. With this in mind, you are not supposed to compromise or to waive your 401k because you are not 100% positive that your investment is a Sharia compliant. Well, there is nothing called nowadays, like to my knowledge, okay, there is no stock walks on the surface of the earth nowadays that's 100% Sharia compliant. Okay, it's not the case. So our job actually here is to strive to, catch up with the system, navigate the system, find out what's haram to avoid and what's halal to conduct. And this presentation actually is a part of that humble effort that we as Muslims, do to educate ourselves. Okay. Now to answer your particular question, you should, akhi, like if rolling over to, as you said, like a Zad fund or Zaki Financial or Amana fund or Iman fund, let me suggest another company. Zaki Financial here. That's an Islamic investment company. I'm sitting on their board as a Sharia consultant. So to answer the question, if you can roll over to any of those Sharia compliant or socially responsible, Muslim-owned Islamic investment companies, go for it. Even if they strive to give it, as halal as possible, and they ended up having, let's say, yeah, you see here, go to About Us, and you'll see the team. You'll find me here as a Sharia consultant of this company. So you should actually strive to keep it as Sharia compliant as possible. Even if you end up, for example, having 10% haram, unavoidable, 90% halal, go ahead and just dispose 10% of the dividend of that account, not the principal, dividend each year, because that 10% is coming from the 10% haram, and pay zakah on the remaining of the account, and that's the best you can do. But keep your 401k, I mean, do not compromise it.
Okay. And as far as that donation that you're referring to, is it permissible to give it to Muslim brothers rather than just giving it to?
Yes, once you dispose haram money, that money is haram for you to use because you generated that money in a haram way. But once that ownership is transferred to somebody else, to faqir, needy, to the masjid, that would be fine. It would be fine. And that prohibition is not transferable with the money. That prohibition is limited to you only, right?
Last question, sir. You said that for the principal money that you borrow,
someone can hold a guarantee for that. Is this the Islamic way?
The lender actually can ask for
Guarantee.
ask for a guarantor, like a co-signer, can ask for collateral, right? So as a principle, does the lender or the financier have the right to ask for a security for that loan, to give secured loan? The answer is yes. But this has nothing to do with riba, so we need to draw a line between the two here. Okay? If I'm to give you $10,000 secured loan, I can do that to pay me back $10,000, but I cannot actually give you $10,000 secured loan to be paid back $11,000. So there is difference between securing the loan, asking for a collateral, as opposed to charging interest. Two different things.
But then how you become a partnership? Then you don't do partnership at all, right? So if you're a partnership, basically you have to have a gain benefit out of it as a partnership business. But if you're securing it, then it's totally separate.
That's absolutely correct. If the Islamic finance practice in the USA is completely independent from the secondary market and the regulators here, then yes, I mean, they cannot ask for secured loan, because basically they are not supposed to give you a loan to start with. They give you the money as an investment, not as a loan. Clear? No.
ask your question.
That will be riba, Sheikh, like after like extra. That will be riba.
halal, بس إن شاء الله.
Halal riba.
So you mentioned in your the lectures about the gift amount that you get after opening a checking account, like what you said with the Regions Bank or something like that. After a while, they deposit a gift amount, and you said it is after a while you got a message it was classified as interest. Is it actually interest or is it not interest?
It's hibatun mashruta, like a stipulated gift. Like for example, when you tell your son, "Are you married? Do you have kids?" Inshallah, soon. Like if I'm to tell my kids, if you memorize Juz' Amma, for example, I'll give you $100. So that's hibatun mashruta, like a stipulated gift. So as a kind of like promotion, like those banks have a lot of competition. They want to attract more customers by just offering them, free deposit, $200, $300, $400. So whatever they call it as an interest, it's not an interest. It's just a gift. Yeah.
But Sheikh, you cannot tell someone, if you borrow me $100,000, after I give it back to you, I will give you a gift. Can you tell him that?
No, you cannot. But this scenario actually is different. They are asking you to open a checking account, not a saving account. You are not lending them money. You're like depositing your halal money with them in a checking account. Okay. The free deposit actually is associated with the checking account, not with the saving account. You see the difference here? If you open a saving account and you're lending the money, yes, they are giving you $400. That will be obviously riba. But you are discussing open a checking account with $400 free deposit. Hopefully, inshallah, we can arrange for maybe part 2 after.
Yes, inshallah. We will have part 2, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh Ma'an. Barakallah feekum, and thank you
For the brothers and the sisters who attended, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.